Community Ireland. So today I'm going to do largely the same as I did on Tuesday evening, which is to actually show you my process of creating an article from scratch. So what it actually looks like. Um, this one's going to be slightly different in that I'm going to be writing a biography of a living person rather than a historical figure like I did on Tuesday. So we'll get a feel for that. So without further ado, I'm going to go back to my big long list of articles that need to be written. So as I said before, I'm writing an article every day for 2020. So of course I picked a leap year. And I am currently, yesterday was 120. So as I mentioned on Tuesday, I am primarily writing about women at the moment. I'm probably going to run out of them at some point, not in the not too distant future, and I'll have to start writing about things rather than people. But for so far, every 19 articles I write, I'm writing one of a man because the gender divide is around 18% on English language Wikipedia. Only 18% of articles are written about women, biographies. So yesterday was Daniel Graysbury's turn. He's a historical printer and made a red link blue in an article that I had written a few days ago. So it was quite a nice little bit of symmetry. But today, so as you know, we've talked about an awful lot of the articles that I'm interested in are Irish historical figures. So those people that are included in dictionaries of national biography. So they tend to be quite historical, or there are those from the more recent past as well. But today I'm actually going to write about somebody who is still with us, which is unusual for me. I don't tend to write about living people. I don't have anything against them. I just, to be honest, quite often writing about historical figures is just that bit easier. It usually takes, somebody passing, a lot of obituaries and things like that to actually get an awful lot of detail. Generally, getting biographical detail about living people from those secondary sources that we've been discussing can be quite challenging, which is why I tend to, I know, Nicholas, living people, wonders will never cease. It's a bit easier to find those. It's quite difficult to find kind of the nuanced details, so exact date of birth, their educational history, that kind of thing, from secondary sources, because they don't tend, depending on what the person is known for, they don't tend to be included in coverage about them, or you might just get a year of birth or just kind of a general area where they're from, as opposed to kind of exact details about these things. So we'll see how we go on with this one. But who I'm going to write about today is this woman here, who is Anne Saddlemeyer. And anybody who has any even passing interest in W.B. Yeats, or the Yeats family in particular, so his wife, his sisters, will have come across Anne's work, because she kind of wrote the most comprehensive biography of Georgie Yeats, which has been written. She's also written about other kind of Irish historical topics to do with the Anglo-Irish literature and the Romantic Revival. So she's quite an important figure for Irish literature and histories of figures in that. And I was quite surprised to notice that she didn't have an article. So this is the one we're going to work on today. I have new messages. I'm going to very quickly. What's my new message? Who's messaging me? Oh, somebody thanking me for I got an award. That's quite nice. Okay, that sets us off on a nice footing for this new article. If you hang around long enough on Wikipedia, people will be nice to you, which is worth it. So on Tuesday, I wrote about it's gone in my head. But I wrote about a historical person, and I used Visual Edit, I used Source Editor, which is what we're looking at now. So to mix it up a little bit, and for those of you who perhaps are uncomfortable or would be unlikely to create an article, especially in Source Editor, we're going to do it in Visual. We'll just go a little bit crazy. I might actually be genuinely slower in Visual Editor, but we'll see how we go. Wonders will never cease. So as always, I start with our lead, our opening line. This is where my spelling was academic. I know that for sure. So she's not, and I'm going to just add one title for the, well, we'll say early life and education is always kind of a good catch-all for kind of early part of people's career. Career. So these are my titles for the moment. So I can start filling in information as I go. I will also start off inserting info box, which of course I usually copy and paste in source, but we'll do it this way. Name. And as we find bits of information, we can populate. And Nicholas, I did try and add a Wikidata info box to one of my articles and failed miserably. I don't know what went wrong. So we'll stick with the old-fashioned templates for the moment. So I found a few biographies or a few kind of, I suppose, write-ups about Anne. So there's one here which is an institution that used to be affiliated with, which has done quite an extensive biographical detail on her, which is quite good. It's a library associated with a university, is the word I'm trying to think of. I also have very short but bits of information which again back up her educational record, and also that she has been elected a member to a number of prestigious institutions, one of which is the Royal Irish Academy. You have to be invited to be a member, you can't just rock up. And we have the Royal Society of Canada, which I would imagine is the same because they use the word invested. I don't think you can just opt to join. There's encyclopedia.com, which it's quite an extensive piece on her, but I wouldn't use it as my primary. I'm going to use it as kind of maybe to fill in later some of the gaps that I'm missing, but I wouldn't use it as my main source. She was also a Guggenheim scholar as a young woman, so there's a little bit more detail here. So as you can see, she's in an Oxford reference text. She is definitely not unnotable. And also what's quite interesting is, from our point of view of our kind of our interwiki links and things like that, if we go to Wikidata, we have a search for Anne. Is it going to be as slow as Tuesday? We should find out. Pretty sure she already has. There you go. So, literary critic, biographer, and a university administrator. So that description might need updating depending on when and where it came from. So we have a date of birth and everything. So it means that when we've created our article, we have our link that we can add. So this is when I tend to go, I'll see you later, Nicholas. Thanks for, see you later. This is where I tend to go kind of quiet because I'm thinking, and thinking is hard. And you're going to see how I tend to do things in kind of a quick and dirty kind of way. Obviously, if I was just to paste this in, leave it at that, that is a massive no-no on Wikipedia. You can't just, because I've just copy and pasted, I've dumped it from another source, I haven't paraphrased it, I haven't changed any of it. So that's absolutely no good. So what I need to do is take all of this information and paraphrase it. And I just find it easier if I know it's all coming from one source. I drop it all in, I work through it systematically. So this source is going to be kind of the backbone of my article because it's giving me lots of detail. It's giving me all the highlights of her career. So every single paragraph I take from this will have this source cited as the main citation, and then as little bits of pieces of information are drawn in from other sources, I can then cite them as I fill it out. The bits that are perhaps missing from this, or I get more detail from other sources. So this is I find it the easiest way of doing it. But you do have to be quite diligent in your paraphrasing, and make sure that don't lose track. Make sure that you are changing the wording. So I can add a bit more to author and expert. Change this up. So Canadian theatre history. I didn't know that. Actually, we'll change that. So the history Canadian theatre and Anglo-Irish literature. And we have a date of birth, don't we? The 28th of November. This is quite, I didn't expect really to find quite so many long entries on, and as I said, with living people, it tends to be, you know, quite a bit more challenging to find sources on them. The reason I suppose we're finding quite a lot of information on her is that she's long lived, so she's had a very long career, and she is, I suppose, quite well respected. She's already of note to a number of institutions that are kind of, I suppose, interested in already memorializing her, basically. Are interested, you know, because, you know, her prestige reflects their prestige. So we're getting a little bit more information here. So we've used that sentence. Actually, so we have her full name here. Did she marry? No, she did not change her name. But we can add. She doesn't seem to go by Ellen or Anne. All of her bibliographies state her as Anne, so. Now I'm going to try and spell Saskatchewan. For birthplace. Add Canada to that. Saskatchewan. This probably means that, because generally I'm writing in source, so I tend to just kind of write the text first and then add, ask questions later, add links later. But I suppose now I usually tend to add links in Visual Editor, but we can add links as we go. And it'll break up my workflow too much. My brain is probably fried at this point. Is the sound of somebody typing white noise? Am I becoming a white noise generator? Graduated. Ooh. Yeah, I'm just always looking for ways to switch around the information I'm getting. Sometimes it's much easier said than done, especially, you know, kind of bare biographical details. It's quite tough to reword at times, but you're always trying to paraphrase as best you can. She was awarded so now we are moving into career. And what I can do now is I can create a citation here because this is where I'm getting from. So I don't lose track. I think we have an author. Great. Okay, so from oh, 1871. I'm just too used to writing about historical figures. Could not type 2021 earlier, it kept coming out as 2012. I'm obviously pre-programmed. Okay. Again, this is the title of a place, so it's quite no real way of rewording that. So you can see as I reword stuff, I delete it so that I'm not repeating myself. So this is where the wording of what I'm taking it from will differ from Wikipedia. So just slightly. So saying things like Sotomayor has lectured extensively in Canada and elsewhere. I'm probably going to leave that out because I'm just going to state the things that it definitely says that she has done. A bit like being a visiting professor and things like that. When I start a new paragraph, I try not to make it too repetitive. When we're looking at a person, the first time I tend to mention them in a paragraph, I'll often refer to them by their surname, just so we're not just going she. And also because quite often in these you're referring to other people and you're like, well, who does this she refer to? So trying to be as clear as possible, which is tricky. New. Okay, so tell me where it was. The ending. I'm not going to capitalize president. ACTA of the Association of Canadian Theatre History. Served as the chair of the co-general editor. Cornell Yates series and manuscripts. So when you're writing about things and you have absolutely no idea what that means. Not that it matters, I suppose. Didn't take out the also there, so we have a few more things coming up. Founding co-editor. What's nice about visual editor is that it brings over formatting for you, which source editor will not. So quite often if I've taken information from somewhere, I have to go back and double check, okay, is that a title of something? Do I need to italicize that? So this, I suppose, in some ways neatens that up. Here we go, she also served. Yeah, I don't need that in italics. What are you doing to me? Downside of bringing formatting over with you. She also she served on the, again, it's kind of a choice of capitalization. Number looking at the clock. I'm going to finish this, am I? So the interesting thing about saying she is currently, if I was to put that in this article, I mean, currently probably isn't too bad, but if you were to say something like recently or in recent times, it'll probably get flagged as kind of like, well, when are you referring to? So if you are talking about kind of a temporal, you know, a time period, try and be specific as possible, not just kind of, I suppose, contemporaneous to when you are writing it, because that doesn't age well, basically. I just say she is, because that's what she is doing at the moment. I'm going to swap this around. She is a corresponding scholar of the. Take out those dubious capitalizations. And director of publishers. Will you be a link? Colin Smythe is probably a link. Nope. 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 She's involved in an awful lot of things that do not have articles yet. Probably telling you how niche her topic area is. Yeah. There's obviously a lacuna in theatre research going on here on Wikipedia. So, now, career. I'm going to take a quick look. An article that I'm kind of taking a little bit of inspiration from. It's not perfect, but it's kind of, I suppose, a similar researcher into elements of Irish history, into art history. And I just want to see. Don't think she was made MRI. Just going to see, you know, whether or not I should have a separate section for things like being a fellow of the Royal Canadian Society, that kind of thing. But I think I'll just leave it in career. 1976. Settlemire was elected a fellow 7. Probably note of the Royal Society of Arts. Just muttering darkly to myself now, aren't I? Again, we're kind of looking at sentences that are quite difficult to reword because they're quite Spartan as they are. She's received several awards for her scholarship, including she also received a lot of things. Diamond Jubilee Medal. I'm going to put these two first. So the Jubilee Medal. And she noted 5 honorary doctorates. From Canadian. That's a lot of doctorates, isn't it? I mean, after 2 or 3, do you not think it's getting a bit excessive? Is that just me? 5. I'm just really jealous. I'm just probably really jealous. Instead of awarded, she received again. Lifetime Achievement Award from the Canadian Association for Theatrical Research, which has no. Does that have an article? 2013. Nope. Now, section that we're probably going to add now for this. Is bibliography. We could put selected works either. Selected publications. There we go. That's what we want. Because rather than having this as a big paragraph, I think we want to have it as a list. And I think we will go backwards. I tend to put them in chronological order. No, I don't think there's a convention saying that you have to. I just think it makes sense. Is that wrong? What would be nice, of course, is to have all the lovely ISBNs and things. But, you know, you can't have it all, can you? Because there is a way of formatting these. 1982. Oh no, I've left it out. An errant comma. There is a way of formatting these so that you can capture the ISBN data. It's Google Foo that I have yet to master. And of course, with something like this, I mean, we are changing how the information is presented. So it's not just a copy-paste job, but obviously there's no way of paraphrasing somebody's written works. They are what they are. The main thing is just to be internally consistent. Yeah. 168. Oh, no. they've obviously kind of put them almost in kind of order of importance, I think. So it's selected publications because what's implied there is that she's probably written in any number of journals and chapters, book chapters and things like that. So that's not included. So this is just her main works. So she was a friend. So can we say personal life? I think we will. Always remove it if it looks a bit incongruous. Personal life. Sadelmeyer was a friend of Seamus Heaney. I'll just say the Irish poet. The Irish port. The Irish poet, Seamus Heaney. And she wrote. He was the rental of her cottage in County Wicklow. Glanmore Cottage. He lived there. Continuously, eventually, buying the cottage from Sadelmeyer in 1988. I mean, yes, it's nice that the place inspired Heaney, but that should probably be in the article about Heaney rather than this one here. They remained close friends till his death. Now, things that I want to add. So, heading. You can see that I should probably stop editing at some point. References. Excellent. So, do we have insert to? Is this how we? I'll do categories in a minute. Okay, so again, we're still using the same one citation, so I'm just going to add it at the end of each paragraph that I've used it, so I don't lose track. Okay, I'm happy with that. So we can kind of do away with that one now. So it doesn't actually mention that she was made a member of was elected of the Royal Irish Academy. Adding all sorts of extra letters there. Yeah. So we can add this. Have that then. So invested in 1996. Was that already said? So that 1976, 1996. Maybe she's made an officer. Okay, I'm just gonna ignore that one for the moment. I'm going to Guggenheim, Queen's University. Oh, Bedford College of the University of London. That is an extra little frisson of detail I did not have. Whoop. From Bedford College, so I will add these. I'm going to move this one. Do I have anything else? PhD. Okay, so the thing that I was kind of unsure about, she was then appointed in 1971. That wasn't particularly clear the way it was worded in the other one. So we're getting some dates for some of the... Also, it doesn't mention that she had her 2 Guggenheim fellowships. Can add that in. She... So, in 1965 and 1977, she was awarded a Guggenheim Fellowship. Okay, so we have dates now. So Rosenhall Award from in 2001, Jubilee in 2002, in 2012. Okay, so we have the places that she actually got those 5 honorary doctorates from. Queen's University, I'm going to say in rather than putting them as brackets, because they're probably chronologically ordered, I can tell. Wow, she got 2 in 1 year. I'm telling you, she's well impressed. This is, you know, I know an awful lot of people, if they're thinking about editing Wikipedia, they really struggle to find the in. Because English Wikipedia in particular, it pretty much looks done. It can look quite complete at times, and yes, certain elements of it can. But as you can see here, I mean, this is quite a formidable woman in her field, and to not have an article is quite surprising. Okay, so in 2008, Cordy University established the Sotomayor lecture. So we will say Concordia University established the annual Sotomayor lecture. Not really much way I can put that another way in 2008. Have that. Oh, and the Hedgerow Press as well. Can add that. So where does it say? So director, the publishers, Collins Smythe Limited. And the Hedgerow Press. Is she director of that too? Yes. Again, saying where I got that from. Okay then, so happy with that. Now, I'm just going to add this these kind of, I suppose, very, I don't have institutional access to this, but it's important that she's mentioned in an Oxford reference. So I'm just going to cite this just on the opening line, which is not, I mean, you don't actually have to add a citation to the lead section, but I think if the citation pretty much just gives you the lead information, that's where I tend to put it, because it kind of makes no sense to me. If somebody feels strongly about it, they can move it another point. But for me, it kind of establishes their importance straight off the bat. So I've also noticed her as a world cat, but we'll see if she's. No, that's not. I'm going to double check before I add that. So I'm going to, for the moment, I think I'm quite happy with that. I want to add a link to Seamus Heaney. I mean, there's still quite a lot that can be done with this article. I mean, this is very much a first pass at it. But when you're creating an article from scratch, you're not going to get the whole thing all in one go. So, don't feel like you absolutely, that you have to absolutely stick with it until you get absolutely, slog through absolutely everything. And immediately, so this is the code I want. So this will then display her current date of birth. Or her current age, sorry. Her current date of birth. Because, dates of birth, they move. Yeah. I mean, what would be lovely is to have an image of her, but it's quite difficult to find appropriately licensed images of people, and I tend to leave that to those who are motivated to find that kind of information. So I'm going to publish page now. So I'm going to say creating new article. And you can see, I'm not familiar actually, some other editors might be able to tell me, but I didn't see any function to add categories while you're actually in Visual Editor. So I'm going to say 92 births. So she's a Canadian woman writer, so we'll look for that. Let's see if we have Canadian academics. Yes. Oh, academics of English literature. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that for the moment. There are people who will probably want to add to that. There's probably categories for members of the Royal Irish Academy and the various different institutions that she's part of. And just as a final, so as I've said, this is a biography of a living person, and how that, the final thing that I'm going to show you now is how you actually connote an article as being as getting a warning. So it means if somebody goes in and presses edit on this particular article, if it's marked as a biography of a living person, they'll get a little warning saying, look, you have to be quite careful about the source that you use. We have policies around biographies of living people, around the representation, and what sources are, to avoid slander and kind of dubious information sources. So we're going to add the wiki projects here. So I've just copied them from this other academic. Copy over. Oh, don't do that. I'm going to rate this at a start. I don't think it's a C quite yet. I tend to be quite critical. Don't tend to rate them particularly high. But the thing here is, in the biography, is this little bit of code here. So it's asking, is this person living? And this person is living, so yes. And what that'll do is then I'll get a little marcation saying this is a biography of a living person, and we'll get all those extra warnings and kind of alerts around content, suitable content. So I'm adding my wiki projects. So you can see now we have our little biography of living people, and that's quite important. So there you go. 121st article written. Quite happy with that. As I said, probably lots more to be done, lots more to be said about it, but hopefully somebody else will wade in, or as I find additional information about it, I'll add it as we go. But I know an awful lot of kind of new editors find it much easier to add to an article that already exists, so at least there's something there for people to get started with. So I hope that was interesting. Thank you very much for keeping me company. I will be back tomorrow afternoon. If you have any specific questions, as always, at Restless Curator or at Wikimedia IE on Twitter, ask me questions. If there's something that you're stuck that you can't get done, if you found yourself kind of buried in the manual of style or in the guidelines and you're really stuck, you're really in a mire, just let me know and I can try and unpick it for you. I'm here to help, and will be for the foreseeable future, as we all socially distance responsibly. So do make use of me, basically. Thanks so much, and I will see you all again very soon. Take care. Bye.